We know that three unions are in dispute. Two have been taking industrial action short of a strike. You've had a series of meetings and have updated members this week. So are you joining now with the head teachers in NASUWT?
Yes, our action short of strike action will begin on the 24th of February after half term. It's our union policy to give 2 weeks' notice to the employer. So we've given that notice to the employer and it falls over half term, so we'll be starting after half term.
And what does that action entail?
The action short of strike action for us, unlike the head teachers' action is their interface with the department. Our action short of strike action is based on activities and meetings before and after school. Teachers will still be performing their full-time duties, they'll still be teaching their lessons, they'll still be marking and assessing, but there will be certain activities before and after school that will be affected and during lunch times.
What if people have already paid for that activity or...
If people have already paid for an activity, that will go ahead. We are not going to interfere with any paid activities or trips. Our purpose in this action is this is not an action against parents and pupils. This is to do with our employer and to bring our employer back to the table. So therefore, anything that's paid for, any trips, any competitions, etc. will go ahead.
We've heard from the Minister Graham Geraldine recently in Timbledon in the House of Keys, and we've interviewed him ourselves, and the constant line is that the pay agreement's been in place since 1992 and teachers here are paid the same as in England and Wales.
We have provided substantial evidence over the last 3 years, particularly the NASUWT. We've provided pay claims, detailed pay claims since 2016 to the department, emphasising the erosion of pay over the last 10 years here, and particularly how we compare in relation to the UK with over 30% of an erosion of pay. We have to factor in the costs of living, all of the costs here that the Isle of Man, that we are subjected to here, that you would not have in the UK. And all of that really has to be taken into account in real terms, that teachers are worse off than they were 10 years ago. And that's been our position all along. That's the NASUWT position, which now the other unions are also accepting that are in dispute.
How big is your union?
Our union is now representing by itself 68% of the teaching working force. And combined with the other two unions in dispute, we are now approximately at 87% of the workforce.
That's disputed, isn't it, again by the department?
It is, and indeed there's been lots of disinformation about this. However, the figures that are verified for our three unions, we've been balloted, our figures are balloted, but the balloted numbers of a union are different to the total membership. There's no outside verification of the fourth union's numbers. And actually, what we have seen over the past 4 months, for us, we have seen an increase in membership over 200 members in the last 3 to 4 months. That's an indication that teachers are leaving unions to join our union because they agree with our dispute, and that's the case with the NAHT as well.
There has been a bit of a rumour going around that the ballot wasn't legal. Can you answer that one?
Our ballots are 100%. Our ballots have been vetted in the UK by our legal team. Our ballot has been also looked at here by the Manx Industrial Relations to see that it complies with the statutory requirement. And there is absolutely we have refuted totally any claims from the department on this. We are concerned, though, that rumours that, anybody taking action who's not properly balloted or legal, that there would be consequences, be dispelled actually by the department. The Minister gave that assurance in Tynwald, and we hope that that was, a true reflection of what will happen in any of the balloted establishments, that educational establishments where we have members. So it applies really to everyone who is balloted. Any action taken there should be no reprisals, no redundancies, no job losses, none of that.
The Minister has said his door is open and diaries will be cleared a day in advance ahead of any meeting. So Are you being stubborn and not wanting to go and get this process underway,
No.
get round a table?
Certainly not. We met with mayors, the unions in dispute, on the 16th of January. We put forward our case as the department, as they wished us to do at that stage. We have been waiting for proper invitations to conciliation we will have the decision makers at the table. What we cannot go back to is what we had before. Those who were at the working group meetings or any discussions we had previously, not having the power to make the decisions. We need the decision makers there, and that's been the issue. We also need to be very confident in the conciliation service, because to date there were concerns about the department negotiating with a fourth union who were not in dispute, and this has caused inter-union difficulties. So what we want to see really is clarity from the department, clarity from mayors as to where we go forward, and have the decision makers at the table.
The unions have written a couple of letters at least now to the Chief Minister, and also I believe to the Treasury Minister as well. Are they the decision makers you feel should be now involved? Because they've constantly said they won't get involved.
Yes, we have seen though a step in the right direction from the Chief Minister about appointing, an independent scrutiny of how the department works.
But that's not including pay, and he said it will take time because he wants to get it right.
Exactly, and this is where we have now written our last letter to the Chief Minister to ask what is the remit of that, what would we be discussing there, who it would be, and all unions would have to be in agreement. However, the pay dispute is at the centre of this, so therefore in our view, that would have to be in conjunction. They would have to be in conjunction, both of those discussions, pay and the whole structure, that we need to reassess.
The Chief Minister said he was at a function last weekend, and there were 6 or so teachers there, and pay never came up as a discussion point.
I think that's quite, to be honest, insulting in a way to talk about things in those kind of terms. These are very serious matters. We represent dedicated professionals who've come to make a decision that they've never made before on the Isle of Man together, leaders and classroom teachers, and to think it's a topic of conversation and a dinner party, well, it's really not conducive to helping our situation.